Hello everyone, I'm back with another video, and today we have ranked battles on Wi-Fi in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And today we have a team that consists of Furret, Kamo-O, Gengar, Gardevoir, Blood Moon Ursaluna, and Ogerpon. Now, because I've never played Sun and Moon past the Elite Four, or I don't remember, does Sun and Moon have an Elite Four? I don't remember, it's been such a long time since I've played that game. But anyways, I never got past like the first few stages of the post game in Sun and Moon, and then I never played Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, so I have no idea like what this Pokemon is supposed to be like. I'm going in blind because I haven't played competitive battling in like what years, like ever since Gen 6, I believe. So here I start off with Protect because again I have no idea what that Kamo-O is going to do. I keep thinking that the Furret is probably going to use Fake Outs. I'm actually not sure if Furret has Fake Out, but hey, you know, you gotta start from somewhere. But it looks like he's going with the double Protect. And I decided to use Protect as well because I'm not sure what that Kamo-O is gonna do. The Fake Out did not work, unfortunately. I really like leading with Tinker Tom because it has really good typing. Really good defensive typing, and it also has Fake Out and Helping Hand. Anyways, as you see here, on the next turn I use Bitter Blade on the Furret, but it's kind of bulky. And then there's this move that I've never heard of, Clamgora Shell or whatever it's called, and when I first saw this move I was completely bamboozled and I'm like, what? All of its stats are going up, but oh, it uses a third of its HP. So then I'm like, okay, whatever, let's use Gigaton Hammer, but unfortunately the Furret has a Citrus Berry, so looks like I'm going to have to attack it a bit more in order to kill it. So then I decide to use Protect again, because again I have no idea what that Kamo-O is going to do. And of course the Furret uses Follow Me. So at this point, the Kamo-O decides to use Rock Slide, which of course has a chance of flinching. And thankfully I did not get the flinch proc here, but my air balloon got popped, so that's unfortunate. I used Knockoff on the Furret, but nothing special. Once again, uses Follow Me. At this point, I realized, I could switch out, but I feel like that wouldn't be so great with the Kamo-O just wreaking havoc on my team with this Rock Slide. So then I decided to use Gigaton Hammer and finally get the KO on the Furret. Yeah, that was a very bulky Furret, alright. So let's see, next he sends out Gardevoir, which, lucky for me, I have Shadow Sneak on my Ceruledge. But unfortunately, it's not able to one-hit KO, and the thing is, even if I used Helping Hand on the Ceruledge, I still think it wouldn't have been enough. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to try to use Gigaton Hammer with the Tinker Tom, but unfortunately, the Kamo-O has Drain Punch, so that wasn't a very smart decision. So then the Gardevoir finally finishes off my Ceruledge with a Psychic. That's very unfortunate, but we still got two more Pokemon available. We got a Zapdos at home, because I'm too lazy to actually get Zapdos from someone else. And then we get King Gambit. So of course he does the right thing and he withdraws Gardevoir. Not a good type matchup for him, considering that I have King Gambit on the field. And then he takes out Ogerpon with the Fire Mask. And at this point I knew that I was screwed, because he is going to terrestrialize his Kamo-O, and I should have known because of the moveset, him spamming Rock Slide, of course it's going to be a Terra Rock. Yeah, at this point the match is pretty much over, but you know, I like to fight until the end. Got off that Sucker Punch. One-hit KOs my King Gambit with a Drain Punch, absolutely. With the +1 attack, of course that was going to happen. So yeah, King Gambit is gone, and my Kilowattrel decides to use Air Slash, but it's pretty much over at this point. Yeah, this was not a very good matchup for me, and I made some pretty bad decisions, but you know, I've only recently gotten back into competitive battling after, I don't know, when did Pokemon X and Y come out? That was like 10 years ago? 10 years ago? I haven't done competitive battling in over 9 years. So we lost. So next, here's the next opponent. So again, this guy's using one of the legendaries that just came out with the DLC, the teal mask. It looks like a kind of like a apple kind of thing. Like honestly, I'm just not like up to date when it comes to competitive battling. I'm pretty much doing all of this blind, but to me that's what makes it fun, right? So he takes out the Amphibon and the I think that's an Alolan Ninetales, right? Yeah. Anyways, I lead with Tauros, got that Intimidate off, and Tinkaton, of course, with the lead. So the first thing he does is he terrestrializes the Ninetales into poison, which I thought was very, very strange. Like, I guess poison like is a decent type defensively, but I thought he was gonna use ice or something. Now, unfortunately, the Ambipom is faster than my Tinkaton, so it gets the fake out off first. But the Ninetales goes next with the Icy Wind, which lowers the speed of my Tauros, which is not very good because Tauros has like pretty decent speed. So I get the close combat off, and Ambipom is KO'd, finally. But because of the defense and special defense drop, I'm leaving myself very vulnerable to whatever's coming next. And he takes out, oh, that's the name, Diplin. Yeah, this Pokemon is, wow. I actually looked up the stats of this Pokemon after this battle, and I was shook, y'all. I was shook. But anyways, he decides to go with the Hypnosis, but we got that evasion proc. So I use close combat. Keep in mind, this is stab close combat, so 180 base power. And it does, like, absolutely nothing. I'm like, whoa, what kind of a Pokemon is this? And then I get the Gigaton Hammer, and, you know, that's a pretty strong move, too. It's like 140 base power, and it does nothing. So then it does, like, its special attack, and it just KOs my Tauros in one hit. So then I take out the Cerulege. I decide to use Helping Hand on the Cerulege this time. But the Diplin decides to be a bit of a nuisance and use Protect. Protect is one of the most useful abilities in double battles, so yeah, can't hate it. But he finally gets off the Hypnosis. So at this point, I'm thinking, oh man, this is... this might not be too good because he might end up with the like protect spam and all that kind of stuff, and at this point I'm not sure what I should do, so I just, you know what, Terrestrialize, get some more power on Bitter Blade. Considering that I have a Focus Sash on my Cerulege, I still want to keep that like proctable. Is that a word, proctable? I want it to proc, and obviously I can't do that if I'm not at full HP, so as long as I keep getting those Bitter Blades off, I can stay at full HP. But of course, even with a Terra boosted Bitter Blade, Diplin is just taking those hits like a champ. Like, man, that thing, man. I didn't even realize that it had Recover until I got into this battle. So again, I'm going into competitive battling completely blind. I'm not even that well versed with the meta at this point. All I know is that Garchomp is in underused now as of recently, so yeah, I remember when that thing was in Ubers. But yeah, I get the Bitter Blade off on Ninetales. Thankfully, it's not a fire type, so it deals neutral damage. It gets off the Syrup Bomb, and unfortunately, that's going to continue to lower my speed. So he has two different Pokemon that can lower the speed of my Pokemon, which is not great. Typically, when it comes to these kinds of teams with like Slowmons, they tend to run Trick Room, but this guy wants to be a bit of a hipster. But anyways, we got the Bitter Blade off on him, finally. And it looks like there might be a light at the end of the tunnel, despite that bulky-ass Triplin just refusing to be KO'd. I couldn't get the Pollen Puff proc off, and Tinkaton is still asleep, which is very, very annoying. So anyways, he decides to send out Lilligant, and at this point I had no idea what kind of moves Lilligant has, but he decides to be an absolute POS and break the Sleep Clause. I thought on Wi-Fi battles like there was a Sleep Clause, but apparently not. So at this point, I pretty much just know that the battle's over. You can just like put both of my Pokemon to sleep and then just rail at them until they both get KO'd. But anyways, I get the Gigaton Hammer off. Despite the fact that I have no attack EVs on the Tinkaton, and the fact that it's not like adamant nature, it still does a pretty decent amount of damage. So yeah, at this point I realize that I'm pretty much done for. I try to get off the Helping Hand just in case the Cerulege wakes up so that I can use Bitter Blade. But even if it did wake up, it's confused and it's probably not gonna proc. So yeah, I didn't realize that I forgot what that Pokemon is named. The Apple Thing, let's call it the Apple Thing, has that recovery move. Yeah, it's probably one of the best Pokemon now out for VGC. Like, I didn't realize just how powerful this little thing was, but the fact that this guy keeps breaking the sleep claws, like, man, it's I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't even know what to say. But yeah, there goes the Cerulege, unfortunately. Kind of wasted a Terra on that thing, but hey, it is what it is. So at this point, I bring out Kingambit, but I know that a single Axe Kit from Lilligant is just going to send it to the Shadow Realm. And that's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. Yeah. So at this point, Diplin's just spamming those Syrup Bombs. They barely do any damage. And my Tinkathon just refuses to wake up. Just absolutely refuses. So I just wave the white flag. You know, I pull a France, and I'm just like, I'm out of here. Okay, now for the next part, we have this guy, which has a bit of a tricky team to handle, at least for the kind of Pokemon that I have, considering that he has Heatran and Zapdos and whatnot. But anyways, we're just gonna see how we're going to approach this. So he leads off with Poliwhirl and Ditto. And because my Kilowattrel is on the left, the Ditto decides to transform into my Kilowattrel. And I get the Fake Off, thankfully. Get the Fake Off. Alright. And he uses Blizzard on both of my Pokemon, but surprisingly, Kilowattrel has decent bulk. Well, it's not a very bulky Pokemon, but actually it's pretty frail. But anyways, I don't know why he decided to go with Blizzard, but I KO the Poliwhirl with the Air Slash, and then he decides to go with Tailwind. So, I don't know why I decided to use Knockoff instead of Gigaton Hammer. Even with the resistance to Steel, I think it's still more powerful than a Knockoff. And thankfully, this guy decides to use Thunderbolts on my Kilowattrel, but it has Volt Absorb, so yeah, that ain't happening in my house, buddy. I get off my own Tailwind because, you know, we gotta balance things out a bit. I go for another Knockoff. Again, I'm not sure why I didn't just use Gigaton Hammer. He decides to use Thunderbolt and KOs my Tinkathon. So that is not fun. But I decide to get the Air Slash off and I KO the Ditto, which is very, very nice. Very nice indeed. But we got this Iron Moth here. Gets that stab boosted Venoshock on. And then I take out my Kingambit. Right? And then he gets out a Heatran. So at this point, I decide to use the little crystal rock thingy, aka the Terastalization. And I turn my Kingambit into a pure dark type so that it can better survive those fire type moves from Heatran. I get the Sucker Punch off, and the Iron Moth is done. He's out of here. Completely out of here. Alright, I get the Thunderbolt off on the Heatran. He gets Magma Storm on my King Gambit, but once again, it doesn't have the Steel typing anymore, so I'm able to wall that pretty decently. So that's very good on my part. And his Tailwind is gone as well. And he decides to Terrestrialize his Heatran into a Fire type, a pure Fire type. But at this point, buddy, it's all over. It's already over. Or as we say back in the US, it's Jover, okay? So then I get off my Sucker Punch, show him who's boss, you know? Those stab Sucker Punches from a Terra boosted Dark type King Gambit. Oh man, just chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Right. And we finish the battle with a dub. Alright. Thanks. See you next time.